It begins quietly, not with ceremony, not with fanfare, but with a single line buried deep in an official press release. On March 10, 2023, Buckingham Palace confirmed that His Majesty King Charles III had conferred upon his youngest brother, Prince Edward, the title of Duke of Edinburgh. It was the title once carried by their father, Prince Philip. From the day of his marriage in 1947 until his death in 2021, a name synonymous with service, resilience, and devotion. At first glance, it seemed like the natural continuation of royal tradition, one generation honoring another. But then came the words that changed everything. The title will be held by His Royal Highness for his lifetime. Before we dive in, there's something I need to share with you. Over the past few days, thousands have watched these stories unfold, but most haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, I invite you now to join us. Subscribe to Crownverse so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding royal history. Those 11 words mark one of the most consequential royal decisions in modern memory. They mean that when Prince Edward, the current Duke of Edinburgh, dies, the title will not pass to his son James, Earl of Wessex. The dukedom, one of the oldest and most distinguished in the British peerage, will simply vanish. Not through scandal, not through rebellion, but by deliberate royal design. At 17 years old, James is the quietest member of his generation. Born Viscount Severn in 2007, he was raised far from the palace spotlight. His parents, Prince Edward and the Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie, made a conscious decision not to style their children as prince or princess. It was a rare choice within the royal household, one rooted in foresight. Sophie once said, "We try to bring them up with the understanding that they are very likely to have to work for a living." James, therefore, has grown up half within the royal world, and half outside it, a young man of lineage but not expectation. And now, thanks to his uncle's decision, he will remain exactly that. The future Earl of Wessex and Forfar, but never the Duke of Edinburgh. A symbolic heir, yet not a dynastic one. It's a quiet erasure, and one that reveals much about King Charles's philosophy of monarchy. To understand the weight of this, we must first look at what the Dukedom of Edinburgh has always meant. When King George VI created the title in 1947 for his son-in-law, Philip Mountbatten, it was more than an honor, it was a mission. Prince Philip was the outsider who modernized the crown from within. He reformed the royal estates, introduced science and innovation into its rituals, and spent decades pushing the institution toward efficiency and purpose. To bear the name, Edinburgh was to embody service and duty, an expectation, not an entitlement. When the title was passed to Prince Edward in 2023, it was, on the surface, a tribute to that legacy. But within the small circle of courtiers and constitutional scholars who read the fine print, it was also a revelation of Charles's new royal doctrine. This was not the automatic inheritance of an ancient name. It was the controlled use of monarchy as strategy. King Charles's reign, since the very beginning, has been guided by what the British press calls the streamlined monarchy. The idea is simple: reduce the number of working royals, reduce public expenditure, and concentrate symbolic power within the direct line himself, the Prince and Princess of Wales, and their children. It's a model inspired by the smaller, more efficient monarchies of Sweden, Norway, and the Netherlands, where only the immediate family carries public duties. But beneath that simplicity lies something deeper, a quiet recognition that the world has changed. Public tolerance for grandeur without purpose has worn thin. The monarchy must now justify its existence not through lineage, but through labor. That is the principle behind the life-only grant of the Dukedom of Edinburgh. Titles, Charles believes, should belong to those who actively serve. When that service ends, so should the title. Critics describe it as ruthless. Supporters call it reform. Either way, it is a departure from centuries of automatic inheritance. For James, it means the line of his family will narrow with time. He will one day inherit the earldoms of Wessex and Forfar, which are hereditary. He will live comfortably, but not regally. He will carry history in his blood, but not on his shoulders. And perhaps, in that restraint, lies freedom. Still, the contrast with his grandfather is striking. Prince Philip was the Duke of Edinburgh for more than 70 years, a record unmatched in modern history. He founded the Duke of Edinburgh's award, championed industry, and supported hundreds of charities. His life defined the title. To see it now set to end is for many a kind of royal requiem, the final salute to an era where service and status walked hand in hand. And yet, in its ending, the title's meaning may be preserved. King Charles has reportedly said in private that he does not wish to see the great ducal titles fade into aristocratic obscurity. He has watched what happened to other branches of the family, the Kents, the Gloucesters, where the heirs have slipped quietly into private life. Prince Richard, Duke of Gloucester, continues his public duties, even at 80. But his son, Alexander Windsor, Earl of Ulster, is a private man with a civilian career. Likewise, Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, now 90, has served the crown since the 1940s. Yet his heir, George Windsor, Earl of St Andrews, and grandson Lord Downpatrick, lead discreet, professional lives far from royal engagements. These titles will endure, but their connection to public service has already thinned. They are noble in form, but private in function. In that sense, Charles's decision about the Edinburgh dukedom is not destruction. It is prevention. He is ensuring that a title synonymous with duty does not become, in future generations, merely decorative. Inside the palace, advisors describe this as part of the king's broader rationalization of honors. The goal is not to strip titles, but to redefine them, to ensure they align with purpose rather than precedent. That approach is already visible elsewhere, in the king's reduction of royal patronages, in his public openness about property revenues, and even in his refusal to replace certain minor royal offices that have existed for centuries. The monarchy, under Charles, is becoming leaner, but also more so. Still, not everyone is convinced. Traditionalists worry that this pruning of titles weakens the fabric of monarchy itself. They argue that nobility derives its strength from continuity, from the sense that names and honors persist beyond individuals. Letting them die by design, they say, risks eroding the mystique of lineage that has sustained the institution for 1,000 years. Some historians go further, warning that a monarchy too small may become too fragile. They recall the Queen's own reign, when dozens of family members supported her work. There was always someone to represent the crown abroad, to open hospitals, to visit schools. A monarchy of 5 or 6 cannot carry the same reach. If one member falters, the structure wobbles. But for Charles, the calculation is different. He believes survival depends not on size, but on clarity. In his vision, a smaller monarchy is not weaker, it is more coherent. It is a symbol of restraint in an age that mistrusts privilege. He is not dismantling the monarchy, he is distilling it. And perhaps nowhere is that philosophy more visible than in his decision regarding his nephew. By withholding the inheritance of Edinburgh, Charles is drawing a new boundary between blood and service. You can be born royal, but that alone no longer guarantees a place within the working machine. It is also, quietly, an act of mercy. For James and his sister, Lady Louise Windsor, this model offers protection, a future free from the pressures that consumed earlier generations. They will not live under the relentless spotlight that followed William and Harry. Nor will they face the endless debate over taxpayer funding and public expectation. They are, in many ways, the first Windsor generation allowed to live as private citizens without scandal. And that may be the hidden genius of the king's plan. By shrinking the monarchy, he preserves the family. By ending certain titles, he may save the individuals who would have borne them. In the long arc of royal history, there have always been moments of contraction, moments when the crown, threatened by its own weight, chose to grow smaller to survive. Henry VIII dissolved monasteries. George VI redefined the royal household. Elizabeth II professionalized it. Now Charles is modernizing it, not through revolution, but through restraint. His decision on the Dukedom of Edinburgh will ripple through the peerage system. It establishes precedent that a royal title can be life-limited without controversy. Future monarchs could adopt the same approach, granting honors for service, not bloodline. It's the monarchy's quiet evolution toward a meritocratic model, without ever admitting it in those terms. And while the move may seem technical, its symbolism is profound. It tells the public that the crown is willing to sacrifice sentiment for sustainability. That even the grandest titles can bend to modern logic. Yet for all its pragmatism, the human dimension remains. Somewhere in Windsor, James, the young Earl of Wessex, might walk the gardens his grandfather once tended. He may one day visit the archives and see his family name inscribed beside those of dukes who came before him, and know that the line ends there. It's a quiet burden, and perhaps a relief. He carries not expectation, but closure. Historians will study this as one of Charles's defining acts. It encapsulates the paradox of his reign. A man born into immense privilege, now working to reduce the privileges of those around him. A monarch who wields power not by expansion, but by precision. And yet, as the years go on, we may find that this contraction makes the monarchy more flexible, more resilient, and perhaps even more human. Because in every ending, there is the seed of renewal. The Dukedom of Edinburgh will one day fall silent, its coronet return to the crown's keeping. But the principle it represents, that honor is earned, not inherited, will echo far longer. It will shape how future generations of royals understand their purpose, not as ornaments of lineage, but as servants of a continuing idea. So, when that day comes, when the title returns to the sovereign and no new duke arises, it will not be a failure of tradition. It will be a quiet testament to change, a signal that the monarchy, even after 1,000 years, still knows how to evolve. And in that knowledge lies the secret of its endurance. Because a crown that learns when to let go is a crown that can last forever.